Welcome to Brothers Black Studio, everybody. I'm Al Black. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about this Dunnett Titanium Snare drum. We're going to run through the tuning grid. We talked about tuning grids before in my snare tuning lesson. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the snare tuning lesson and come back. We're going to just run through the tuning grid for this snare. So this is a Dunnett Titanium Snare. It's built by a guy named Dunnett, just near Vancouver, BC, in British Columbia here. He's a world-famous drum builder. I think the first time I heard of someone using one of these snares, I think he built one for Stanton Moore. Thanks, Ron. Another cool feature of this drum, if you flip it upside down here, is this cool throw-off. Oh, there's a big hole in my snare there. Look at that. That's not going to sound very good, is it? See, this thing comes on and off, so that way you can change your head really quickly without pulling your snares off. I guess we'll crank it up. Might as well see if we can get a good sound out of it. Bottom head's seen better days. Time for a new bottom head. All right. This top head needs to be tuned way higher. I could detune it. Let me detune it a bit and see what kind of low sound we can get out of it. Maybe we'll try one of those detune one lug thing. All right, you get the idea. Let's get over to the computer and check out the tuning grid. All right, people, welcome to the screen. Here we have my Dunnett Titanium tuning grid. We start at 1.25 turns on the bottom right here, and we start at 1.25 turns at the top right here, and go all the way across, okay? 1.25, 1.5, 1 3/4, 2 turns, 2 1/4 turns at the tightest, all right? So tightest tuning on the bottom is 3 1/4 turns right here. And the top tuning on that one is also 2 1/4 turns. So that's my tightest tuning here. All right, so let's just run through the tunings here. So this is the lowest functional tuning, 1.25 turns on the bottom, 1.25 turns on top. Then I'll play you the top line. It's pretty low, right? Pretty smacky, really low. Little tighter. Little tighter. Okay, little tighter. So you can hear I'm playing individual snare shots. These will be samples, right? So you're sampling your snare drum at each one of these tunings. At any point in time, I can say, oh, I like that tuning. Clip out a sample and put it in my project, right? Highest tuning. So pretty cranked. This is a super low bottom, super high top. Let's just run through them. So next, 1.5 turns on the bottom, 1.25 turns on top. Tighter. 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 Tightest. All right. Next one, 1 3/4 turns on the bottom, 1 1/4 turns on top. little tighter. Two turns on the bottom. You see that's starting to get pretty functional as a low sort of ballad snare, right? A little higher. Highest. You hear the drum starts to choke out with that many turns on top, right? You can hear down here. It's still got some body here, right? It's choked out. All right, so 2 1/4 turns on the bottom. Pretty slappy. A little tighter. Tighter. Choked out. All right, 2 1/2 turns on the bottom. Sounds pretty good, right? And choked out. 2.75 turns on the bottom. Smack. So I like some of these tunings. They got some color on them, so I kind of like that one. So I like this one. It's got some pop, some body. All right, 3 turns on the bottom. Okay, and finally 3 1/4 turns on the bottom. All right, and cranked up, right? Super high tuning there. Interesting things to note are that it sounds a lot better with the bottom cranked up and the top loose than it does with the top cranked up and the bottom loose. So I find that aside from a few tunings up in the little higher range where it's kind of cranked up and popping and smacky, like here, this one, you know, this one, maybe even this one, and this one. Those are functional, good sounding snares, snare sounds, right? You could use those. I kind of like these low tunings, especially once it gets up past about 2 1/4 turns here. It's really like gut buckety. Could sound great as a ballad snare, right? Bryan Adams in the 80s. It starts to sound good right there. I could see using those as samples. All right, so there's the Dunnett snare tuning grid. As you can see, when you do these things, you get a really good idea of how your snare sounds at all these different tuning ranges. So you can decide for yourself where you think it sounds best. And actually, it can be enlightening. You can be like, oh, I never really thought it made such an awesome ballad snare sound. That would sound great with some reverb on it, right? Yeah, and you can definitely hear where it gets choked out, right? I mean, whenever you get up to this top tuning up here, I mean, the drum is really starting to sound choked. You can hear I'm moving the tuning up on the bottom head and it's not changing the sound much. It sounds like a better version of choked with a tighter bottom head, right? Although it seems like a lot of work, right? I think it's very valuable to build these tuning grids from a few different perspectives. You get to know your drum inside out, find out exactly where it sounds good. You could tune it to that spot very easily every time. You could try different heads. It's a great way to figure out how to make your snares sound awesome. The other thing about it is when you get a really good sound out of it, then you've got a sample of it. Do this with kick drums, snares, toms. Pretty soon you'll have your own catalog of samples to use, your own sample bank of your own drum sounds, and you can make them sound better and better and better, and no one will be able to listen to that and go, oh, that sounds like the Ocean Way sample bank. No, it won't. It'll sound like, you know, the Brothers Black Studio sample bank or your sample bank. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you.